Hey everybody, I'm Sarah, Lonesome Glory, and today we're going to talk about what I think the 2026 BreyerFest Scandi surprise model is going to be. So let's get started. So if you're new here, every year I do a video about what I think the BreyerFest surprise model is going to be using bad model horse science and my opinion and just some kind of educated guessing. So I'm going to walk you through that today and let you know what I think my picks are going to be. In the past, I have had the model in my top five. And one year, my cat, Khaleesi, who is walking around here ready for her turn, actually picked the winner. So let's start off with what we know. The surprise model every year is a model that Breyer tells us nothing about except the name, and this year it's the Scandi Surprise. We do know a few other things going in. We know they're going to use one traditional mold, and they're going to do multiple colors on that mold, typically between 4 and 6. There's usually a mix of matte and glossy, with the glossies being a lower run. Occasionally there are models that only come in one finish, and there's usually one decorator. So I'm not even going to attempt to guess what the colorways might be. There's just no way of knowing. We'll all find out together on Friday morning at the park. And if you follow me on Instagram, as soon as I find out what it is, I will try to post there. So make sure you're keeping an eye out there. But for now, we're just going to try and figure out what that mold is going to be. So how do we do this? We start by looking at the list of Breyer's traditional molds. I use Identifier Breyer to help me with this, so thank you very much to the folks who put that together. They kind of help me keep organized when I am going through my list. And I went through and listed every single traditional mold that Breyer has, including the couple of premier models that have not come out yet this year. And I got 196 molds. That is a huge place to start. We have to narrow it down to one. But I do have some tricks for getting there. Once we've gotten to traditional molds, because we know it will be a traditional, there are a few other things that we can get rid of immediately. We know it is going to be an adult horse. It will not be a full mold. So there are 25 different foals. Those are out right at the beginning, which leaves us with 171. From there, we're gonna scratch off the ponies, especially the small ponies, or the non-horse equines. So the zebra, donkeys, bridie, that kind of thing. And then the small ponies like the miniature horse mold or the Henry Icelandic molds, Misty of Chincoteague, those are all going to go away. There are 22 of those. So that gets us down to 149. I will say I did leave in some of the larger pony molds like Astrid from the Premier Club a couple years ago, or Falhofnir, the Icelandic pony. I did leave those in at this point. So that gets us to 149. There have been 16 surprises in the past in the history of BreyerFest. So I went ahead and got rid of all of those molds. I just don't see Breyer reusing one. Now, there is a caveat to this. There are 16 of those gone. I don't get rid of the treasure hunt models, Silver and Othello and Weather Girl. I don't think that the fact that they did a treasure hunt, which was unrelated to BreyerFest, would prevent them from using them in the future. So 16 prior surprises are gone. That leaves us with 133. Then I have the great big category of molds they can't use, which is Albaroso, because they broke his mold. He will not be the surprise. So 132. At that point, I also get rid of the 2026 Premier Club models because they haven't been released to collectors yet. So that's going to be Georgina, the draft mare, Carmen, the new rearing one, And then it would also include the donkey and the pony that are coming out for the Premier Club this year, but they already got taken out with the ponies and other equids earlier. So we're at 130. Only one prior surprise has ever been on a vintage mold, and that was the very first year they did a surprise. It was the quarter horse gelding, and that was a year where it was a surprise which one you got, but not what mold or what colors. They actually told us that ahead of time. There were 3 colors that they had available, and then they put in some kind of sneaky micro runs as well that they didn't tell us about. But since they only used the quarter horse gelding and a vintage mold one time, I think it's probably a safe bet that they're not going to use most of the vintage molds. They're not as popular as the newer ones. They also have started doing a vintage specific special run. So when they announced the Man o' War model for this year in the special run lineup, they made a special note that he was the vintage offering. Given that they're separating that out, I really don't think that they'll use another vintage mold in the lineup. More specifically, I just don't think they'll use one for the surprise. So I took out 58 vintage molds. Now, I added a little caveat to that because I left in 6. I left in Adios, Lady Faze, the Fighting Stallion, the Proud Arabian Mare, the Indian Pony, and the Semi-Ring Mustang. I think that using them would be kind of out of character. I maybe would have thought more last year with the 75th anniversary that they might have used an older mold, but those are popular. People like them. So I went ahead and left them in the list just in case. But 58 still took out quite a few, so we're now down to 73. The next category is wholly subjective, kind of like leaving in those 6 vintage molds. I'm now getting rid of newer molds based solely on the idea that they're not quite as popular. I got rid of 17 molds in this category. So some of these models that I have dubbed unpopular actually are kind of popular. For instance, Secession is adorable, and I think people really like that Arabian mare, but I just don't see them releasing her without the foal, and I truly do not believe that Breyer will ever do a surprise that is a mare or a stallion and foal. So those are the ones that I got rid of as quote-unquote unpopular, which leaves me with 56. Now the next category is much less subjective. Once a mold has been used for BreyerFest in the same year, they don't reuse it as the surprise. That's never happened in the history of them doing this. So I took out 11 models that were used as BreyerFest exclusives for this year. And that's BreyerFest exclusives from special runs, limited editions, prize models, raffle models, everything. So those 11 get us down to 45 molds. And then I have never seen, and I've been watching, that Breyer has used a mold in the live auction as a test run and had that mold also be the surprise model. So they haven't told us all of those auction models yet. There will be a couple that they don't tell us about really until we're there. But the ones they have announced and the ones that popped up on some of their sites got me to 10 different molds that hadn't already been taken out for another reason. So we're left with 35 molds. That is still a lot to deal with. But these 35, I kind of consider the ones that are eligible to be the surprise this year. Of those 35 molds, there are 6 of them that have bases of some variety, from the little disc bases to much larger specialty bases. Breyer used a mold with a base last year, and they've only ever used 2 molds that have had bases. They used Smarty Jones way back when, and then they used Titillus last year. So having a mold doesn't make a model safe, doesn't mean they're not going to use it, but because they use those kind of rarely, and because I don't think they'll use a mold with a base 2 years in a row, I went ahead and took out of the running Bristol, Huck Bay, Ruffian, Salinero, the Show Jumping Warmblood, and Constantia. So that's 6 fewer that I have to deal with, which leaves us with 29. We're at the point now where everything is just gut instinct and subjective and my opinion on what I think they might do for the surprise for BreyerFest this year. So, knowing that, I had to make some choices. Which ones do I just not really feel like they'll use? And I got rid of 11 molds. I did take out any of the remaining vintage models, I believe here, as well as Shenandoah, just because she's so much larger than some of the others. I did the Vandermeer I took out for the same reason. She's just a really big mold, a really heavy mold. The Marwari, I kind of think with the 2 manes and tails, they might not choose that. But regardless, I went ahead and removed those 11 to get me down to the final lineup, which is 18 models. So, what do we have left? We have the Akhal-Teke, the Animar Andalusian Stallion, the Andalusian Mare, the Arabian Mare in all forms, so that includes the Just a Dream, Make-A-Wish, and Oasis varieties of the Arabian Mare, the Striking Arabian, Bluegrass Bandit, the Cantering Warmblood, which is True North, Desatato, the Frisian Sport Horse, that's Vermeer, the Lipizzaner Mare, and then the Lipizzaner Stallion. Now, one version of him does have a base, so he might be on the bubble, but they gave us a version without a base, so it's entirely possible that that version could be in the running. Then the Mustang Mare, or Forever Sage, the Premier Club Pasifino, the Shigea Arabian, the Show Stance Arabian, Duende, Weather Girl, and Carrick. Those are the 18. So that gets us down to the top 5 molds that I think could be the BreyerFest surprise model for 2026. These are in no particular order. I'm going to start off with the Andalusian Mare. She's been released on her own without the foal before. She has had a few releases, but there's still a lot of different colors that they could do to be something new and different on that mold. So I think that she is definitely a possibility. The next model that I think could be the surprise model for this year is True North. This one would hurt. I'm kind of hoping that Breyer doesn't choose him, but he is a very, very gorgeous mold. He has had quite a few releases, but again, there haven't been so many that it would be hard to find different colors to put on this mold to really make him stand out. So I think he is a good choice. Next up is Carrick. This guy would also hurt. I have a soft spot for this Carrick mold. I think he's really pretty. I will note that they have used one of the regular runs on this mold as a BreyerFest open show prize model, but I went back and looked, and in the past, because they choose the prize model out of the current regular run line, in the past they have used a prize model as a glossed regular run in the same year that they use that same mold for the surprise. So that's kind of the exception to the they won't use it again rule. So I think Carrick would be a lovely choice. He is, I really like him. I know he's not quite as popular maybe as the other two that I've chosen, but I'm a fan of the mold. I think that they have options for colors on him, and it would be definitely up there on my list of possibilities. The next one, I actually don't have any of these molds to show you, so I'm just going to show you a picture. The next one is Forever Sage. She's another premiere model. She's reasonably new, reasonably popular. She's had a few releases, but not a ton. She just sits right up there with the other three, and I think she's a definite possibility this year. And the last one to round out my top 5 is Duende. I do not have this one as well. I don't have any of the models on this mold. I'm not going to lie, it would be very happy for my pocketbook if they would choose either Forever Sage or Duende, because I would not have to buy any of them. But he's a nice looking mold. He is standing. They use a variety of poses, so that's neither here nor there. But he is a reasonably popular mold. He doesn't have a ton of colors yet, and I can just really see him being their choice for the surprise. So Khaleesi has decided to grace us with her presence. I think she wants to choose her pick. Yeah, you'll get to choose. You will. Oh, she's going to sit on my shoulder while I talk to you guys. So, okay, this is my parrot. So, those are my top 5. Now it just comes down to which one do I think you're very cute. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You gonna say hi? Okay. It really just comes down to which one I think is the most likely choice for Breyer. And I think that any of them would be great choices. I think that Breyer has also thrown his curveballs and done something completely different in the past. But this year, my number one pick that I think it will be is True North. I think that he's popular, he's pretty, he kind of would fit with the theme. You have some warm bloods going on. But I think he is my main choice. So let me know in the comments what you think the surprise model is going to be this year. See if you have a pick. Once I get done, I'm going to let Khaleesi choose. And I know that I've just said that I do not have molds for Sage or Duende. So what I have done, I have chosen a trotting type horse that's moving, but it's not super long. I actually picked a Lonesome Glory to represent Sage. And then I picked a standing model. I picked Winx to represent Duende. And I did those very specifically because I wanted to choose molds that had already been used as the surprise. So Khaleesi's vibes will come from what they represent, not what they actually are. Because I could just see if I put down a mold that they hadn't used, she'd pick that and it would be that mold, not the one it was meant to represent. So we're going to give her a shot here in just a minute if she decides to stop. Very good. To stop climbing all over me. I'm really glad that you guys are getting to see what my life usually looks like, which is cat on shoulder. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. By the time you see this, we will be on our way to BreyerFest. I am so excited to see you guys there. Make sure you come by Clarion Room 128, the Pineapple Room, to say hey. We will be trading trinkets and bracelets, as well as wheeling and dealing and selling, and we will be doing trades, so if you guys are interested in that, swing by. I'll have a few duplicates from this year's BreyerFest line that I will be looking to trade for. Really? I'll have a few duplicates from this year's BreyerFest that I'll be looking to trade or sell, so come by and check those out. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe here and that you follow me on Instagram so you can see updates as we head to BreyerFest. And I will see you next time. Bye. Okay, Khaleesi, do you want to pick a horsey? Give them all a good sniff. Give them all a good sniff. There you are. Come on. You got to pick one. Is that going to be it? No, that's my foot. My foot is not a choice in this. Don't lay down. Come here, baby. Will you pick a horsey, please? Oh, is that going to be it? You knocked it over. Okay. You guys heard it here. Khaleesi has decided that the surprise model will be Forever Sage. Yay! Good job, Khaleesi. Please don't eat the horses. Yeah, that's a good girl. Okay, she's going right back to that card, guys. That's her pick. Happy BreyerFest!